Everyone, welcome to the next episode on SAP Fiori Launchpad training. In today's session, we will have discussion about Q unit and OPA5 test. We'll have an introduction of both Q unit as well as OPA5 test. Let's get started to the OPA5 test. OPA5 test, one-page acceptance test, is mainly used for integration purpose, testing your user journey. What is a user journey? We already talked about it in UX chapter. User journey is all about clicking something, navigating to something, something happens. So it's all about, if you remember, user journey is all about three things, where you have to code, you have to tell the system that anybody, what is the main funda box for user journey? Do you remember? When, then, do you remember when, then in the user journey, which I taught you in the UX chapter? What is all about the user journey? Given, when, and then. You all have forgot, you see? Given, when, and then. Given is your precondition. What is that you expect when the test should start? When I do this, then I expect this. Clear, everybody? That's your user journey. And it's actually used for integration test. Are you all clear? So OPA5 test is actually all about writing test for user journey, integration test, end-to-end integration test. You can do it with OPA5. So in the OPA5 test now, you actually have, OPA5 stands for one-page acceptance test. It is used to test user journeys, integration test, writing to test user journey. Okay. User journey, as we all know, includes three parts: given, when, and then. Is that clear, everybody? Given, when, then. Do you remember given, when, or then, or not? Do you remember given, when, or then, or not? Please confirm in chat window. Are you all remember given, when, and then? Are you all remember given, when, then as part of user journey? If you all remember, then in terms of OPA5, when you're coding such a journey test, you are going to write three parts. The first part given is called arrangements. When, what you are going to do is called actions. And the last one is called assertions. In OPA5, this is what we do. OPA5 is actually used to do your testing for journey. And in a journey, we have given, when, and then, as we discussed in previous chapter about UX experience. This is what we discussed, that a journey, a particular journey in UX is all about given, when, and then. Given, this is the condition. Given, let's say, I want to say if there is a button on the UI, that is my given, that is my arrangement. Then click on the button, that's my when. When I click on the button, what should happen? Then, that's the then expected outcome. So that's what you are also testing in a user journey. Given is arrangement. What is that you have? When is the actions? When I do certain things, when I perform certain actions on the screen, what should happen? Then assertion. So now, in order to use this OPA5 framework, which is inbuilt of SAP UI5, SAP UI5 provides us a reusable library. It's part of SAP.UI, just like you have SAP.aim. Similarly, you have SAP.UI.test.OPAQ unit. This is the reusable OPA5 library which SAP provides. This gives you an OPA test object, and in using this OPA test object, you are going to register your arrangements, you are going to register your actions, you're going to register your assertions, and once all of these are registered, you are going to create a configuration for OPA5, and that's what is going to do the test. But now remember, guys, in this case, it's a test which is done on the screen, running screen. So we need to run the test. So there has to be some test cases. So now there are three entities. Your test case. The test case includes given, when, then. This is one journey you have. Yeah. So arrangements, actions, and assertions. Now this test case, what you are writing using OPA5, who is running this test case? OPA5 framework is going to run this test case. Yeah. OPA5 framework, which is an inbuilt framework, is going to run this test case for you. So let's just write down the OPA5 framework. And then on the other side, where it is going to run these test cases, it's going to run in your application under test. So what is the prerequisite to create an OPA5 test? What are all the entities? Just like we learned just now, some time back, about QUnit. To do a testing using QUnit, we needed certain entities. We needed a QUnit HTML. We needed to bootstrap the QUnit JS and CSS. We get a test cockpit where we can see result, and we have a test case file where we have all the tests defined. Similarly, in this case now, we need to first load OPA5 framework as part of an HTML page. So we call it as OPA5 test page. Okay, OPA5 test page. HTML. This is our OPA5 test page. This test page is loading OPA5 framework. And we are then defining all our assertions, all our test cases as part of another JavaScript file. So all our test cases are defined in this. So maybe I can call this as Anubhav test.js. And then here we have our application under test. Now guys, remember, very, very important. When you're running OPA5 test, your application must be visible. It must be up and running. Okay. The application must be up and running. So you got to launch your application, perform these actions at real runtime, perform these actions. So suppose you have a button and you want to test an integration test. Yeah. So I'm going to design a very simple one in today's session. In the next session, I will write OPA5 page, OPA5 journey, the way we do it in SAP UI5 real time. In today's session, I'm just going to give you a brief demo of simple OPA test, a one-page test on a simple application we will build and do it. In the next session, we will go and do the full-fledged test on our fruit application which we have written. We're going to cover end-to-end user journey in our next session. In this session, I'm just giving an introduction to write a very simple OPA5 test and understand the different entities and artifacts here. So in this, as you can see, artifacts, the first artifact is OPA5 page. Second artifact is your test case JS file where you have all the test cases written. So in this OPA5 framework, you're going to do bootstrap to load SAP UI5 framework. Once the SAP UI5 framework is loaded, you go to start the OPA test. Okay, and now you have to also bootstrap the OPA5 itself. This is what we're going to do. In this HTML page, you're going to bootstrap OPA5. It's actually nothing that comes with along with SAP QUnit libraries. Then we have bootstrapping of SAP UI5 framework, and then we have start of OPA5 test. That's what we're going to do. And this is an OPA5 test page. And now when you run this test page, what you should do, the prerequisite is you need to load your application as part of your page. So now here we are going to also have something on an iframe. OPA5 gives this iframe free of cost to you. In this iframe, your application will be loaded. So your application which you have will be loaded in this iframe naturally. So this is your application under test. We're going to load this application under test inside this iframe. We're going to invoke our test. Then our test is ready. This test which we have coded, the Anubhav OPA test, this test is now going to call given. It will check on this iframe in the application under test. Do you have a button? This is your given. If the button is found, first assertion is passed. When now OPA5 will click on the button. Yes, You won't believe me? You won't believe me? We'll see that. OPA 5 is naturally going to perform a click on the button. Now, on click of the button, what I'll do is my test case is I will change the text of the button from, let's say, one text to another text. I'll say button clicked. I will change that. So when you OPA 5 click on the button text must change. This is my functionality I've coded. Now, once the button text is changing, then we will fire our assertion to see did the button text change or not. If the button text changed, my test is passed. If button text did not change, my test has failed. So it's a very simple example of an OPA 5 to understand the basics of OPA 5. Of course, there are aspects like creating an OPA 5 journey, creating a page, OPA 5 page, creating a page journey. All these things we're going to see in deep in our next class in this training. But right now here, I'm just creating a very simple introduction of OPA 5 page. Okay, so let us go ahead and first design our application under test. This is our first entity we're going to design with one view and one controller inside. And then we're going to write our OPA 5 test case. And then we're going to write an OPA 5 test page, which is going to trigger the test case and orchestrate the whole flow and conduct this entire testing. So let's go step by step, line by line, no copy paste of code. Never learn from trainer who is teaching you copy paste. Never ever learn from trainers who are teaching you copy paste. They are cheating you. They are not teaching you. So now I will go to our SAP WebIDE and I'm going to first create our simple SAP UI5 application with one button. And when the button is clicked, I'm going to change the text of the button. So let us go ahead to the system, to our SAP WebIDE, and then we are going to create our simple MVC application like we did in our first course. I'm going to come back and I'm just going to do it as part of our unit test itself, maybe this project itself. I'm going to give you this project in our training blog. You all can download and try this code out. Okay, let us go ahead and I'll say new. I'm going to create a new folder. Just create a new folder. And I'm just also going to create new. I'm going to create a folder. Let's say controller folder. And now inside the view folder, I'm going to design a view, a new file, main.view.xml. I'm going to create a new file. We'll also go ahead and create directly the view here, new. And now you see there's no view option available. The reason is the project type. Right click, go to project settings. Just come here and project type is just mark it as SAP Fiori, save it. And now you're going to see right click, I say new. And please create an SAP UI5 view and controller for me. That's an option you can see. Choose that up. That's my WebIDE full stack, guys. And I'm going to give a namespace for the project as, let's say, OPA demo. And I'm going to name my view as main view. Click on next, finish. Okay, it says already exist. I say overwrite. System is now going to overwrite my view. And there you go. A main view and a main controller is created by default. Let's go to the main view. Oops, it did not generate the code. Looks like some problem. Let me delete this. It did not override actually. I'm just going to quickly create it one more time. Right click, new, SAP UI5 view. I can say OPA demo. That's my root folder directory. And then I can say main view. Finish. And now I can come down. And you can see a basic view is created. It has an app object, pages object, and page object. I can say OPA demo. I'm going to create a very simple button inside. Let's create a button control. I can say text. And I say click me. And on press, I'm going to say on press action. First, I'm coding the application under test. We're going to test this application later point of time using OPA 5. First, our application must be ready. Then only we can create a test case, right? I'm first creating our application, which we would like to test. So that's about our view. Now let's go to controller. In the controller, I'm going to write functionality for on press. Whenever press button is clicked, the system is going to change the text. We're going to change the text of the button. So I can say this. Anyone, can you please tell me how to get the source object of the control which has fired the event? Anybody? Do you remember the API? Anyone? Prasoon or anyone? Do you remember which API to use to get the object of the source control? Whatever. Yes, perfect answer. Var O button equals to O event dot get source. Perfect answer, Satish. That's what we do. And now I just take this button up and I'll say button dot set text and I'll say I was clicked. That's the text I'm changing at runtime. Very simple functionality I've coded. Let's write an index HTML to run this. So I can say new file. I'm going to say index.html file. Click on OK. And I'm going to get the snippet here for my bootstrapping of UI5 framework. So let's go to any existing project. And from here, we're going to just get our UI5 bootstrapping. So I'm going to get that from here. Copy that and just get the bootstrapping, basic bootstrapping for UI5 project. So header and body part of HTML. And just remove this. All that is bootstrapping code. We don't want that. All that. We want to get a simple bootstrapping done. Yeah. So let's remove all this piece of code. Bootstrapping of SAP UI5 library. And we need also the new app JSON actually to be able to load our resources properly. Just get that as well. So now I'm just going to get my new app JSON as part of my unit. All of this is covered in our basic SAP UI5 foundation training. So those who have no clue about UI5 and Fiori, please look back my videos on SAP UI5 and Fiori foundation training. So new app JSON, manifest JSON, component JSON, all that is created and declared and explained well in the foundation course. Now, so that's my bootstrap, and now just slash resources, and that's all look okay. That's my basic new app. And now I'm just going to say my slash resources, going to load SAP UI5, and I'm going to load SAP M library with SAP. That's it, SAP UI layout I need with Bleeze theme. That's all looks okay. And now we have here attach in it. Please load my application. We don't want this. We don't want all the fancy stuff. We just want to create the view object, var o view, SAP UI view, the view ID, the view name, and the view type. Just loading my basic view and putting the view in the DOM. And now it's also important that we give our root folder. What is our root? Resource roots, data SAP UI. So let's give this namespace. Let's give OPA demo. And now I'm going to give a relative path with that, OPA demo dot view dot me, and the ID is IDV. So that's my bootstrapping and giving demo. Let's go inside and make sure that it's all coding or calling the same correctly. OPA demo dot controller dot me, perfect. And here it's also OPA demo dot controller dot me. Namespace is adhered to. And now let's go test this application. So my application is first I'm creating, guys. Be able to work with it. Yeah. We will create OPA test next to this. Once our application is ready, our OPA test we will be creating it. Let me just save it. It's still saving. Once it gets saved, we will run our app. And as a result of that, we're going to see a simple button on a single page. When you click on the button, it's going to change the text of the button. So let's test this. You can go to run configuration, and default run configuration is running my index HTML file. That's what I want to run. So let's see. It's very slow. I think I have too many projects in my cloud WebIDE. That's why it's a little slow. I'm going to clean it up a little bit today. Okay, go to index.html, save and run. That's your application under test. Currently, there is nothing related to OPA5 which I triggered here. It's the application under test which we have. So as a result of that, once the application will execute, you will see a simple button on the UI. Oops, it's not working. Let's go to console. You think sap.ui.view is not a constructor. The reason here is, you see, the UI5 framework is getting loaded later. And after that, before that only, system is trying to call the SAP view object. That reason we have to do it little careful. We have to use another code, sap.ui.getCode, but attach in it. Wait for SAP UI5 to load first. Once the UI5 framework is loaded, only please call my code. That's what we are doing actually. Let's do that. That's a good practice actually. Now come back and refresh. Now it will wait for SAP UI5 framework first to load, and voila, you can see my app is up and running fine. So there's a clippy button. Let me click, and you see I was clicked. This is my app, guys. I know it's not at all something which is up to your standard, because we have done a lot more complicated things in our basic project, but yet a very good example to understand the basics of OPA5. You all know my style of teaching. I don't get into advanced things or big short things until or unless I clarify your basics. The very first thing in the very first lesson in learning is make your fundamentals strong, make your foundation strong, because your building can only sustain with natural calamities, earthquakes, only when your foundation of building is strong. Otherwise, it will collapse. So this type of small example is very much effective for us to understand the concept of OPA5 first, and then later point of time in the next class, I'm going to create complicated example. I'm going to create OPA5 page. I'm going to create OPA5 object page. I'm going to create journey. We're going to do complete end-to-end test using OPA5 for a productive application. This is just basics of OPA5 to understand. Very good idea to understand basics. Now, oops. It's giving some error. Okay, so what we will do, we created a controller, we created our view, we have our index.html. These are all the 3 files currently we have in context, which you should really focus on. Now it's time for creating an OPA5 test page. Let's create an OPA5 test page. It looks absolutely similar to the QUnit test page. So I'm going to make a copy of the QUnit test page. I'm going to paste it again in our folder. And I'm going to call it as OPA5 test page. Test HTML. We're going to call this. And the beauty of WebIDE full stack is you can use keyboard shortcuts, Control C, Control V to paste it up. Now here, guys, instead of loading this QUnit from the QUnit framework, we are going to load the OPA5 bootstrapping. We're going to do OPA5 bootstrapping from SAP UI5 test resources. Okay, from SAP UI5 test resources, we are going to load. So there are a couple of fixtures which we have to load, which are very important. Now, let us go to index.html, load also the bootstrap. So I'm going to get all this content. Actually, get all this content. And now this is my bootstrapping of UI5. That's also okay. So now my main page and other stuff attached in it, this all look good. But now we have to load the test resources. With the help of that, we can enable the QUnit fixtures with SAP UI5. Okay, so let's get that bootstrapping done. So I'm going to come back. Couple of bootstrap script src, and I'm going to load the QUnit resources from SAP UI5. Like I told you in the last discussion, we're going to load QUnit from SAP UI5 bootstrap, or SAP UI5 framework already has the QUnit inside. We're going to load it from there, not from the QUnit website. So it is in the /resources /SAP UI QUnit /QUnit -2 -CSS unit.js. That's first bootstrap. The second one is SAP resources, SAP UI third party QUnit2.js. And I've got all of these from SAP UI5 SDK. QUnit.js, QUnit2.js, and then next one is QUnitJUnit.js. We got to load. The last one is QUnit-coverage.js. I'm going to show you an amazing feature which SAP UI5 offers us. It's also going to do a code coverage for us. Yeah, so that's what also I will showcase you. So that's why we need to also load this another bootstrap QUnit-coverage.js. It's actually using a blanket JS inside to do the code coverage for your code. These are all the three bootstraps I have added. Now, in the script tag, we have to say don't start the unit test immediately. Please wait. I can say qunit.config dot auto start equals to false. Don't start my QUnit immediately. Please wait until my UI5 framework is loaded properly. So that we are assured that UI5 framework is loaded properly once the attach init callback is called. So I can come here and I can say now qunit.start. Now guys, this is your OPA5 test page. When you run this test page, you're going to see a QUnit-like screen. Okay. As part of the body, it's important now also to put those two fixtures for QUnit. So let's put div ID equals to QUnit. And then QUnit hyphen fixture. Save it. So that's my OPA5 test HTML page. Now in this you can see we've got a body in that we have QUnit fixtures. We are loading the SAP UI5 resources for all the QUnit related stuff. We are loading SAP UI5 Bootstrap. Once SAP UI5 Bootstrap is executed and SAP UI5 framework is available in the browser, we are starting our QUnit.start page. Let's gonna test this. I'm just gonna start this page. Right now I have not written any test case for OPA5. We're gonna do that in the next section. Now let's run this up. OPA5 test page I'm going to run. Okay. Run configuration. And now here, instead of application, we are going to run OPA5 test page. Even run. And now you're going to get the test page for OPA5. You can see guys, OPA5 test page. It's running our modules currently because the reason is I think we are invoking somewhere our modules. I think it is identifying the module and running them naturally. So instead of these, now we want to run our OPA5 test. So how do you run your OPA5 test here? So to do that, we have to now create a test.js file. Like you remember this picture. So we have now created our bootstrapping for OPA5, bootstrapping for QUnit, bootstrapping for UI5 framework. Now we have to start OPA5 test. To start the OPA5 test, we have to call this Anubhav OPA test.js. That is what we have to create. Okay, let us do that. I think the file is not saved. Something wrong with WebIDE full stack here. It's not saving my file actually. You see, it's not saving my file. Let me quickly refresh my WebIDE, guys. Okay, let me take a backup of this code, copy that, take it in a notepad. That's a good practice. And now let me just refresh, reload. And now we're going to create Anubhav OPA5.js. That is a file I'm going to create. So now I think this one is saved now. Let's run this up. It's still running those tests actually. Ideally it should not. I think it's the same page. It's running QUnit test actually. About that test. And here we're gonna do OPA5 test page. Okay, you see guys, it's emptied one, it's fresh one, you see, global failure. So that is expected, an empty OPA5. So the same screen, we are reusing the QUnit framework window or QUnit test page. This is the page where you're going to see all the test results. So now guys, in this test page, we need some iframe. We will get an iframe that's automatically will come. In this iframe, your application will be loaded. Okay, and here it will show you that button. And then remember three things: given, when, and then. So the first given, we will say given, please load my application. Step number one, load my application in this iframe. Step number two, check if the button is there. Step number two in the given. So there are two things which you have to do in given. Okay. When, click on the button. That's your action, guys. So click on the button, only one step. After the click is done, it is successful. Do the test. What is the test? The test is check the button label. So this is what you're given, when, and then to test a journey. Are you all clear? In this page, we're going to do all the testing. This page is going to show you the result here. It's going to show you the app here on the right side, and it's going to perform the test. Okay, clear everybody? What is that we are doing? Given, when, and then, which is actually equivalent in OPA5 to something called arrangements, action, and assertions. 3 A's: action, arrangement, assertion, actions, and arrangement. Given, when, and then. So let us go ahead and create a OPA5 test.js file. In that, I'm going to define all these three things: my arrangements, my actions, and my assertions. Submit that to the OPA5 configuration, and then write my test case for OPA5 to trigger the test. This is what we're going to do. Remember the steps. First step is load the application into the iframe, the application under test. Then check if the button is available. Once the button is available, click on the button. Once the button is clicked, check the label of the button afterwards. That will be an end-to-end journey test of your one test case, guys. Clear everybody our requirement here. Let's go. Very simple application, very simple use case. And now we're going to create a test page .js. So earlier I created for a QUnit Anubhav test.js, and I'm going to create for OPA5. So let's create a new file, and I can say Anubhav OPA test.js. Come inside, and here inside this OPA test.js, we are going to write our code. So every UI5 file, every UI.js file in UI5, it starts with scaffolding, as we learned in the first course, SAP UI5 Foundation course. Let's start with that. sap.ui.define. That's what it starts with. And now in this, an array from a function. And inside this array, let's put our dependency. As I told you, the dependency in OPA5 is SAP UI test, OPA QUnit. This is the dependency. And I'm going to call this as OPA test. Now, every object which you're going to create for arrangement, for assertion, and for actions is an object of this OPA test actually. Okay, we have to create an object for this. Now, let me start var arrangements. Something I'm going to do. Var actions. Do you recalling the UX experience? And var assertions. Three things we are going to put here. So the first one is your given. This is your when in a journey, and this is your then. Clear everybody? And once all of three are defined, we are going to set all three of them to the OPA5 framework. So we're going to say OPA test dot extend config, and in this we are going to pass all our three things which we create: arrangements, actions and assertions. So arrangements, actions, and assertions. And then we are also going to pass where is our view namespace. My view namespace is OPA demo.view folder. That's where all my views are present. Let's code the arrangements, actions, and assertions quickly. So first, what is the arrangement? In the arrangement, now we are going to load the app inside the iframe and check if button is available. That's what we are going to check. In the when, click on the button, and in the then, we are going to check if the label was changed or not. Let's come to arrangements. Let's create an object, new OPA5 object, new OPA test. Everything is an object of that class which I mentioned in the dependency. The new OPA test object, curly braces, and this offers you can write down here multiple functions inside now. I'm writing launch my app function. I'm writing, call this function. I'm writing a fresh function which is going to launch your app, guys. What is this going to do? This is going to return this, which is the OPA5 current object. I start my in a frame. That's an API offered by OPA5 framework. I start my app in a frame. This is an API offered by OPA5 framework. And I'm going to say launch my index HTML. What is the path where it is present? It's present in the current working directory. So simply say index.html. Please launch my index HTML because I want to test that. That's my arrangement. Okay. The next part after arrangement is done, you got to do action. Action is again an object of test. Inside this, now we are going to write another method. So let's create a method here. Click on my button. All the arrangements for your whole set of journeys you're modularizing actually. This way you're modularizing. You're writing all the journeys here, journey related actions here. They are reusable. You can reuse this launch my app multiple times. Yeah. Because for any journey to start, you just launch the app, right? So you reuse this method. That's why I'm writing them separately in these stubs. Okay. Now coming back, click on my button. So when somebody click on the button, when somebody call this method, what should happen? It should click on the button. So for that, what we will do is we'll say return wait for this dot wait for. This is also another API which will OPA5 is going to do asynchronous testing. Because in the app, imagine you're running your app may take some time to load. Your button may take some time to load because it's loading from network. Yeah. So OPA5 should be asynchronous. It should keep waiting for some time, and the default waiting time is 15 seconds. Interview question, guys. What is the default timeout for every action in OPA5? It is 15 seconds by default. You can increase it also. So OPA5 will check if for 15 seconds it can find the button. If it finds the button in 15 seconds, good. It will perform the action. If it doesn't find, the action times out, and OPA5 test will turn red. Okay, so this is the API, wait for API. We use everything, defining an action. And now inside this, we have a view name. What am I checking? Where am I checking? View name. I am checking something on my view called main view. What am I looking for? I am looking for ID for button. ID for button, the DID, let's give that. In index HTML, let's give, in the view, let's give ID of our button. So remember, it's good practice to always give ID for your control. In the basic course also I taught you this because OPA5 test is also depending on these IDs. Okay, so I can say Anubhav BTN. That's my ID of the button. I'm going to use that ID to find that up. Look forward for that button, please. OPA5, please check in the main view. Are you able to find a button with ID these? If you are able to find success callback, OPA5 found the button. What you need to do? click on the button. So OPA5 will pass you the button object here inside the success function. If it doesn't find the button, what will happen? OPA5 will time out and give you an error message. So now if it finds the button, use the button object, and I'm going to use jQuery to fire a tap event on the button, trigger tap on the button. That's an event I'm triggering. If it doesn't find the button, error message. Okay, so this error message. Do not find the button page journey. Okay, that's the error message OPA5 will throw. And let's end it up. That's your action, guys. Here, everybody, reusable action method. Now coming to assertion. So now, what is assertion? Assertion should be triggered once the button was pressed. So let's create the assertion object. Once again, new OPA test. Now inside this, we are going to write a function. You can say check text if changed. Now please check if the text has been changed or not. So I'm going to say function. Again, return this dot wait for, because it may take some time to change the text also, right? Suppose you click on load data button. It calls the backend, it loads the OData service, loads the table data. It may take some time. So OPA5 should be asynchronous. It is waiting until the data is loaded in the table. For 15 seconds, it is checking. Within 15 seconds, if data comes out well and good, if it doesn't come out, anyway, it will time out and test will fail. Suppose you are testing a table loading data, or list loading data. OPA5 will by default wait for 15 seconds for every arrangement and action. If it doesn't take place, OPA5 test will time out and it will give you an error. 15 seconds is the default timeout. So return this dot wait for. Again, the view name is my main view. What is the button I'm going to look for? Just check this control. If you find this control, look out it again. I hope that's the ID we gave. Let me check it. Obedient, correct. If you found this button, what you got to do? You have to apply a matchers. I am now writing this assertion. That's a matcher. So new SAP UI test matchers. You can use that as a dependency in your scaffolding. UI test matchers. Dependency I've loaded. And I'm going to say matchers. Property is strict equals. Please check if my button label is being changed. What am I expecting? So my test case says the property which I'm checking, the text property of my button. And what am I checking? The value of the text property must be. What is the value am I setting on my action in my controller? What is the value I'll check? So the value I checked was I was clicked. Please do this testing. Me OPA5. If somebody click on the button, is the button text value changed to I was clicked? That's my measure. If this condition fails, OPA5 test will fail. If this passes, OPA5 will trigger the success callback function. And in this callback function, you're going to again get the button object. You can write some code and say also, okay, the button was also found. So I can say it is jQuery, QUnit assert, and I can say button text was successfully changed. If this above assertion, if the matcher is found, if the text is found and it is compared successfully, the success callback will trigger where we are giving an okay. We are giving a truthy, yeah, for QUnit. Otherwise, error message. If timeout happens or doesn't find it, error message. Oh my God, something wrong in your app. Okay, that's it, guys. We are done. We coded given, when, and then for our test, and then OPA5 config has been set up, and now this is the prerequisite. Okay, this is all the prerequisite. This is how we modularize our OPA tests. We're going to put all the prerequisite functionality first, and then we write a test on top of it. Let's perform a test. I can say OPA test, please do the test for me. OPA test should, I can give some description here. I am testing a journey to click button and see if text is changed or not. That's what I'm doing. Put comma, and now by default OPA will pass given, when, and then to this callback function. So function given, when, then. These are objects which you have already assigned to the configuration. These objects. Now these objects, you see, they all contain functions which you coded. Yeah. So just write your test using those functions. Now I'm going to say given dot. What is my function I've coded in given? Launch my app, please, in iframe. So launch my app, and now I can pass the app here also, but I've hard coded it already here. You can see I've hard coded it already here, so no problem. When click on my button, please. So please launch the app, and then when you click on the button, what should happen? Then please check OPA for me. Did you see the button text was changed or not? Text changed. That is my third function. So that's how I modularize my test into the assertions, arrangements, and functions. All those things are modularized. I set it to the config object, and then I write my test just to use these functions. So in your company, you may have multiple developers. One set of people are just writing these assertion actions and actions and arrangements, and you are writing these test cases then on top, where you are using their functions which they have written to write your journey. This is your journey test. The journey name is I'm testing the journey of click button. Clear, everybody? Matching exactly what we learned in SAP UX. What is the UX basics? It's exactly matching that. So Anubhav OPA test. I'm going to trigger Anubhav OPA text from my file now. So let's go to OPA test page and call that up, that script. So now I'm going to call that up. So I'm going to say script, and src, and script path is Anubhav OPA test.js. Cool. That's what we want. Let's come back and run this up. We are ready to experience. Watch out. Press enter. It should see at least an iframe now. It should load your app in iframe. You should be able to see that on your screen. If everything goes good, if everything we coded as per the flow, then you are going to see an iframe. In that iframe, system will load our application and it will perform the test. Now you see global failure. Something went wrong. Failed to load matchers. SAP UI test matchers.js. I think I've done a spelling mistake. Let me go and check that. So now you can see sap.ui.test.matchers. It's correct only. Why it is giving this error? Really, that's the one. That's the correct one. It's not loading this dependency. No problem. We're just going to ignore this. Did it also forgot to load the OPA test? Is the unit not defined? Something went wrong. Let's go and pick that up. First of all, the matchers thing. I'm going to do that directly. So instead of using this matchers object, yeah, that's one thing. Let's come back and refresh. It's giving other set of errors now. Died on test 1. Cannot read call of undefined. Something is wrong. Q unit is not defined. Where am I using Q unit? Yes, I got it. I think Q unit I use small u. That's the problem. U should be capital. JavaScript is case sensitive. Let's come back and retest. And now code completed. Something else is wrong. OPA test extend config is not a function. Okay, I got it. It should not be OPA test alone. It should be SAP UI test OPA5. That extend config. Let's come back. And you see now at least our journey triggered, guys. You see the journey has been triggered. I am testing journey. You see, wow, guys, our journey triggered, but it died because given is not a function. Launch my app is not a function. You see, given.launch my app is not a function. System is telling that to me. It's unable to find that function actually given. However, we have said this actually already. What is that we've done wrong? Maybe the reason is this whole thing has to come here as OPA test. Yeah, let's try this up. That could be the reason. Directly put it, don't use the dependency. I think the OPA Q unit is the dependency. So OPA test is OPA Q unit. I'm using wrong object actually to create them. All the objects of type SAP UI test OPA5 and this one is SAP UI test OPA Q unit. That is the problem. Let's come back, refresh. Voila, congratulations. Can you see, guys? Can you see it has loaded an iframe here? Wow, superb. See, guys, system has loaded an iframe here. And you see it has also performed the click on your button. I was clicked. Can you see? It has loaded an iframe and the button click was also performed automatically by OPA5. But why? Something is wrong. Oh my God, something is wrong in your app. Can you see this is the message we gave? Reference error OK is not defined. I got the reason. This OK gentleman is actually from unit. And now let's come back, press enter. So many errors. Voila, there you go. You see, it's checking for the application to load. Application loaded, button was clicked. You see the label got changed. Again, another error is coming. QUnit.OK is not a function. So this OK, it is not identifying actually. This OK truthy or QUnit, it is not identifying. Something is wrong with this. This particular OK function system is unable to understand. So it's actually going to success, guys. It has gone to my final assertion. After clicking on the button text was clicked and it has gone to success. That's why here it's giving an error. OK is not defined. I think we can suppress this for time and just do a test. Press enter. Watch out. It's going to load an iframe. You see it's loading iframe. It's so fast, very fast. You see button was clicked. I was clicked. Expected at least one assertion. So now it is expecting one assertion. The reason, let me debug this, guys. This okay thing we have to see which object it is part of. That's the one small catch. It's expecting at least one assertion. So you can see that okay method is unable to find in the Q unit actually. So we have to see that. So I just refresh. It's gonna hit my debugger. Yes, there you go. And now I want to see this OK function. How can I use the OK function? Is it part of OPA test.OK? No, it's part of Q unit. Yes, it's part of Q unit.cert.OK, guys. I was doing mistake. Yes, this is the function. I save this. Voila. Let's come back and test it now. So refresh. You can see iframe is loading. It loaded, it clicked, and voila. Congratulations, guys. Your first journey test with OPA5 is green. So this is what you might have tried achieving it many times in your project, and you were all confused where to get what. You can see OPA speed. Here is the timeout time, fast, medium, slow. Based on this, it is going to configure the speed, and wow, you can see enable coverage. Watch out. I click on that, and it will also evaluate the coverage of your test. You see, it is finding the coverage and it's telling you the coverage report of all the code. and you just check your controller. Where is your controller? What is the name? Main dot controller, right? Okay, it's not showing it here. Ideally, it should show. I have to check that. So it will also give you the coverage result, and we are using the internally it is using blanket.js to find out the coverage for your code. So code coverage is also naturally identified when you just check mark this, run the Q unit with enable code coverage option. Yeah, that's the beauty of OPA5 test and Q unit test page. So now you see this is your first test. You see this iframe here. It has loaded our app in this iframe in the same domain. There was a button. It clicked on the button, and then when the button was clicked, system has changed the text, and when the text was changed, your OPA5 test is passed. Let me do little small last trick. I'll go to our controller. I will not change the text immediately for the button. What I'll do, I just put a set timeout. I'm gonna change the button text after 5 seconds. ठीक कैसे काम करता है? भी चलेगा. Because OPA5 will wait for 15 seconds the button text to change. Okay. Now I'm putting that here and I'm saying please change the button text after 6 seconds. So that's a timer I've added as part of my on press function. When the button is clicked, don't change immediately the button text. Change after 6 seconds. Let's see if OPA5 test pass also with that. Because OPA5 is asynchronous test. It is going to wait until the button text is changing. It's waiting. It will wait how much second? 15 seconds tak wait karega. After that, if it still doesn't changes, it will fail the test. Let's come back, run this up. Watch out, it'll load the app. You see, click me if the text did not change this time. I'm counting 3, 4, 5, 6. And you see button was text was changed, and now your OPA test executed, and now you see button text was changed successfully. So it's asynchronous. Sometime you have a real-time Fiori app. It's getting data from OData service. It will take a little bit of time to load the list control, table control, drop downs. Yeah, you made a call to save. It is waiting for the toast message to come on the screen. So it is a waiting time. So that maximum waiting time is 15 seconds. OPA5 will wait for your action to get finished. And once it gets finished, it senses and then it immediately fires your assertion accordingly. Hope you enjoyed today's class. If you want more videos, please do like, subscribe my YouTube channel. You're going to get more nice videos like this. If you want detailed information about how do we design productive OData test, please go to my website, onlinefiorytrainings.com. From there, you can subscribe to my current course, which is going on. The course name is SAP WebIDE Full Stack Training with SAP Cloud Platform and SAP Fiori Security Training with Fiori Launchpad. This is the training you can go ahead with. In this training, we are covering all these topics: best practice build, Grunt.js build, OPA5 test, Q unit test, WebID full stack features, SAP maintenance planner to install Fiori apps, extensibility scenarios, hybrid application development toolkit to create your Fiori app. All that is covered in this particular course. You can subscribe for this course, but make sure that you are comfortable with fundamentals of SAP UI5. You should be good in SAP UI5 libraries, frameworks, MVC architecture, controllers, views, fragments, formatters, utils, I18N, different varieties of models, OData, JSON, XML, and resource models. You should be comfortable with component.js, router, route match handler, manifest.json, OData integration, how to use OData services, create OData services in gateway, consume them, HTML5, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery. All this you must be comfortable in order to learn this particular course. Okay, so that is what the OPA5 test. Any questions before we close today's class? Anybody, please feel free to ask step by step your questions. So I can see a lot of questions in chat window. Let me take it. Can we change this 15-second time frame? Yes, of course we can change it, Deepak. Let me go and check the UI5 documentation. So maybe I just go to UI5 documentation, SAP UI5.ondemand.com, and there I think you can change it. And also there's a question about where can we find the documentation for the APIs you use. Okay, I'll show you that also. And there's a question about previous class video. Okay, I'll upload the previous class video. Okay, Deepak, I think I've already responded to you, Deepak, for your request. Please check your email. If I've not, please reply back to me on my email. I will send the response back. How can I embed component.js in iframe? We'll see that in the next class, Deep. We will see that in the next class deep. How to use component.js instead of index HTML. We will see that in next class. Okay, coming back one by one. So first of all, the documentation, you can come here to API, sample API reference and search for OPA. All the documentation of the APIs are here. OPA5. You can see the methods. Yeah, we have used a wait for method, right? So you'll find that method here. It's a little tricky and difficult to understand in first go, guys. OPA5 test, okay? Little tricky. Yes, there you go. You can see wait for API. It's telling you about the documentation of wait for API, right? Extend config we've used. So that's what I've used it from here. You can see wait for API, what it does. The complete details about wait for API. That's about API documentation. What about default timeout? We can actually configure that. So there has to be something called config object where you can configure this default timeout. You can see this timeout 15 seconds. Yes, you can see 0 for infinite timeout. Yeah, 15 seconds. You can configure that in the config, OPA config. So timeout can come back. Where's my WebIDE? So OPA config. Let me go to OPA config. Here you can add a timeout. 20. Let's wait for 20 seconds instead of default timeout of 15 seconds. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you feel this video is helpful for you and your colleagues, please do share this video with all your friends and colleagues. Thank you so much for all your efforts putting and understanding this concept with me. Please do like, subscribe to my channel to get more videos like this. You will be getting notified automatically once you subscribe to this channel. If you want to get more deep into the course, please don't hesitate to subscribe to my course on SAP UI5 and Fiori development, SAP ABAP on HANA with S4HANA technical modules, and also probably on SAP Fiori Launchpad and Advanced Fiori training on WebIDE full stack. This is Anubhav Oberoi signing out. Thank you so much. See you again. Goodbye.